And I should be live. Hello, welcome everybody to Bru Writes. I was going to say Bru Streams, but I write. I do stream, but I write. That's the main thing I do. I don't know if anyone is here yet, but I usually do this twice a week, but I fell ill. It wasn't COVID, but I had a really bad cold and I wasn't able to speak for a long time. I don't know if you guys can still hear it. I can still hear the cold in my voice. But I'm back. I'm here to write some more stories. I've written some stories that I think are good, and I hope you guys will like it as well. For those of you who are new, what I do is I write stories from writing prompts, which I find on the internet, and then I write it in my own way. I read out the stories, and then I explain why I decided to write the story the way I wrote it. And then, well, you guys can tell me what you think of the stories. If you like it, tell me why you like it. If you don't like it, tell me why it's not good. And I will definitely take your feedback and try to write some better stories so that you guys can have some better entertainment in the future. And also, if you want to follow me anywhere, I'm on YouTube, Bru Writes. I'm also on Instagram, but my Instagram is not yet active because I'm trying to figure out how to take the stories I wrote and put them up in a proper format. And also on TikTok, Twitch, whatever. It's just Bru Writes everywhere. You can just find it wherever you want. Or you can follow me on Reddit. And of course, you can see whenever I come live. But if you're following me on Reddit, I also do a podcast with 2 other friends about like random stuff. So you might get a lot of notifications for that. But if that's okay with you, that's good. Anyway, let's get started with the first story of the day, which is you wake up every day in a different person's body. You have 24 hours in their body, and then you'll inhabit someone else's. Ragnis was a force of evil that was considered to be a sure death curse. One who was afflicted with Ragnis would never be able to survive, despite their best efforts. Not much is known about this mysterious disease, except that it lasts 24 hours, will make you do things that no mortal would ever consider doing, then the person would drop dead. After years of this disease affecting people, the masses knew what to look for. A sudden scream in the middle of the night, and veins showing up. Then they would appear normal, but give off an aura of evil while committing many atrocities. Due to this, people thought to lock themselves in chains before sleeping. This didn't stop Ragnis, as it gave immense power to everyone who was affected. It seemed truly like a calamity, killing everyone. Here's the truth, dear reader. Ragnis was a soul, not a disease. It was a wandering soul that used to be a terrible demon king. In an attempt to defeat Ragnis, the Holy Empire launched an all-out attack which failed terribly. The leader of the Holy Empire, Fatius, managed to curse the soul of the demon and remove his soul from the body, thereby killing him. Unfortunately for Fatius, he was the first one to be claimed by Ragnis. Ragnis's curse was unique. It let him possess a body only for 24 hours, and then the soul would be expelled. Thankfully for Ragnis, this went great with his plans. His powers were never sealed away. He would get a new body each day, and he would wreak havoc in these areas. Slowly but surely, this curse only enabled the demon lord, with no one left to tackle his soul. Until that fated day. Ragnis had grown too arrogant and thought his powers were untouchable. He never once thought that souls other than him could take over people's bodies. Ragnis entered as child, newborn, thinking it would be a great way to bring demons into the kingdom of Trur. The kingdom of Trur had never been affected by demons ever. Ragnis merely wanted to take over the body of the child and summon his demon forces to attack Trur. Therein lied Ragnis's worst mistake. The soul of Fatius, the leader of the Holy Empire, was waiting patiently for a chance for their paths to cross, and this little baby was the ultimate battleground for these 2 enemies. After a war that raged on for hours in the baby's mind, Fatius managed to seal Ragnis's soul in the child and enable the freedom of his own soul instead. He then killed the baby as the last sacrifice to the disease known as Ragnis. Dear reader, Ragnis never vanished. The disease kept spreading, but instead of a curse, it is now looked at as a blessing. Everyone who was affected by Ragnis not only survived, but also got incredible power and found their true calling in life to be a destroyer of demons. While Ragnis the disease spread, Ragnis the demon king lost everything he once stood for. And that's the first story. So basically, it's just about how you wake up in a different person's body every day, and then you just keep switching from one person to the other. So writing prompts, the thing is, you don't have to stick exactly to the prompt itself. It can be whatever you want. You can add in your own details. You can remove details if you so wish. So I thought of it like this: like what if there was somebody who just kept jumping from body to body, and that was their power. They managed to possess people, and once they possess people, they could make them do whatever they wanted, submit the body to their will, so to speak. And I just thought of Ragnus. Like Ragnus, I have no idea where the name comes from. To be very honest, I don't know where most of the names I write come from. They just come from somewhere. And I just thought about what an evil force would be doing something like this. And if you are an evil being possessing bodies for a certain amount of time, I don't even know if people would know it's an evil force being like possessing you. They would just probably be like, hey, okay, this guy's gone crazy. There must be some disease that's going on. And that ended up being Ragnus. The disease was named Ragnus. How it was the same name as the Demon King itself, I will never know, and neither will you, but that's the way it is. And well, there is no way to stop a soul that can just go from person to person and just eat them up and kill them instantly. So my answer to that was the guy who fought him, his worst enemy, his soul is fighting with Ragnus's soul, and when they finally meet, he manages to take over the disease, so to speak. So it's just a random fun story. This is, of course, completely fictional, and I just thought of how I could take this in a very different way, because I think most people would have written something realistic, while I wanted to go with something a lot more fictional. Anyway, we can move on to the second story, and that one is: you are a human chosen to be undying and ageless. One day you decide to write a book, and while trying to overcome your writer's block, several centuries had passed. As a writer, you should know, writer's block is the most deadly thing to ever affect you. It cripples you. It makes you feel like nothing is worth anything. It makes you feel an endless feeling of despair. At least that's what I felt for years and years. I took an opportunity when I was young. I was given the opportunity to be ageless and I would never die, but I had to record all my experiences for future humans to read about how the world was. A historian and an alchemist, the man who offered the opportunity was inflicted by a terrible disease and couldn't save himself. The only wish he has was that the person who lives forever would carefully note down all the happenings in the world as much as possible to ensure that the future generation would learn from the mistakes of the past. I've kept my word. I have you know, there is literally no issue with me not following that command. I do it only as a thank you for the endless life that has been given to me. I write and write and write, but yet I can't seem to write at all. Words come pouring out and I erase them. That isn't accurate enough. That isn't well written enough. That was just a vomit of words instead of a sentence. That isn't even language. The problems just continued. I wrote about the world and what I saw, but nothing made sense. It just wasn't right. I withered. I tried to write about the plague that is ravaging Europe. It seems like a young kid had talked about his parents falling ill. Ugh, my writing is terrible. I render myself helpless. I tried to write about the Great War, where the entire world came together to fight. It read like a young writer writing about a fictional war. I hate myself. I cave in. I tried to write about the Second Great War. This had the worst atrocities the human world had ever seen. Even the good guys were guilty of terrible actions. It seemed like a story a parent would tell a child to scare them about war. No one should ever read my writing. Everything is cleared. I break down. I let the story guide me. I wither and give myself away. I realize the most important part of writing: the world's what you create. The world's what you create. So this is also, again, fictional, but of course, but a little bit of realism added to it, where I thought about, so if a human who was undying, who was immortal, would choose to write a book, it could very well be a book about all the things that he has experienced or how the world was. I thought, what if he just wasn't writing about his experiences? What if there was a historian and he wanted to make sure that the future generations would always be able to know what happened in the past, with some guy writing about it continuously. So I just thought of an alchemist who managed to give someone endless life but couldn't save himself from the disease he was suffering from, gave this opportunity to this guy, and this guy just writes about the world. And even if there are a ton of things happening around you, so writing is writer's block itself. I'm not sure if I've experienced it in the way that people usually do. I'm probably very fortunate that way because I can always put out something. But writer's block, at least from if it is what I experience, it's just something where you can't write. You can put out words, but you feel like it's shit. You feel like it's really bad. You feel like you shouldn't be a writer at all, and that nobody should read your work. And those are all feelings that I've gone through, and I know that it can happen even if there's a lot of stuff to write about. Like, writing is just It's just a way for you to express what's happening around the world or what's happening in your mind. So there is an endless things to write about, but writer's block stops you from being able to express that as well as you could. So I just thought of this guy living forever and struggling with writer's block forever. And finally, he just lets the story guide him. And this entire part is actually just so I wither, I render myself helpless, I cave in, everything is clear. So that whole part is actually a song about writer's block, which was written by Dream Theater called Wither. And it's actually, Dream Theater couldn't figure out what to do with their next song, with their next album. So they decided to write about writer's block. And it's actually a really great song. You guys should listen to it. Wither by Dream Theater. Amazing song. Really, really cool. And well, I just thought I could pay a little reference, a little homage to that song, because it's one of my, I wouldn't say favorites, but it's one of the songs that's always on the playlist that I make. I always listen to it. It's very fun. So yeah, just a little extra something I wanted to add in there. And of course, everyone knows that World War and World War II had a lot of atrocities. Even the people who are considered to be in the right did a lot of terrible, terrible things. Like, for example, Winston Churchill, who was supposed to be one of the greatest people in war, at least at that time, who saved all the Allied forces. So basically, Winston Churchill caused a huge famine in India, where he redirected crops, he redirected food from the state of Bengal to the British army, because he thought Indians were not, I don't remember the words he used exactly, but he basically thought Indians were below human and they were like dogs, so they didn't have a right to the food, and the British army should get it because they were fighting the good war. And for that reason, Winston Churchill is actually a lot more hated in India than Hitler was, because, well, we didn't face the atrocities of Hitler directly, but Winston Churchill definitely leaves a rough spot in a lot of Indians' minds. And I'm not just talking about like the old generation. There are a lot of people in the current generation also who do not like Winston Churchill for the things he did to India. But I mean, I'm not on anyone's side here. I'm just something that I learned about, and I thought I would just add it in because it sounded really fun. But anyway, that's the second story. I have two more for you guys. I'm just going to take a quick sip of water, and then we can move on to the third story. Oh, Kari Sinha is on YouTube and says, "Wow, look who's back! Hey, I'm back! Yes, finally. I was sick for, as you know, Kari. Kari is a good friend. I was sick, and I finally managed to come back to in a good enough health to read and speak. Because before this, my throat would like hurt really bad. My voice would go like this, and all that stuff would happen. And chug, chug, chug. Kari, I'm drinking water. I'm not like you. I'm not part of the AA. Anyway, third story. You possess the gift of magic, but your spells can only be cast through cooking and having people taste your food. Here go the tale of the magician Garnid. Garnid was a baker born at the wrong time. If Garnid lived among us today, no one would be too suspicious of her. Garnid was as talented as they came. Weaving her hands into flour, water, and yeast, she made the best goods that one has ever eaten. Yet, Garnid was not appreciated for this. This society that she was born into only cared about expanding territory, waging war, and reaping the benefits of murder. Garnid couldn't care less. All she wanted to do was make delicious things, live life in peace, and focus on reaching the peak of the art of baking. Unfortunately for Garnid, her elders couldn't care less either. She was forced to participate in the training of the body and the mind, learning martial arts and spiritual abilities. Garnid never gave up though. She always made time to bake something new and fun. While she accepted her training in the fighting arts, she merely tolerated them, working mainly on her baking arts. In a twist of fate, Garnid's abilities in the fighting arts supplemented her baking arts. The magic and power she wielded in war could be applied to baking, making each delicious bun she made grant immense, intense powers. Garnid focused on this in secret, and when she was ready, she unveiled her plans to the elders. The plan was to give her a huge kitchen with all the ingredients she wanted, and she would head into war with no arguments. They laughed. until Garnet ate a small macaron and suddenly used a martial skill that should have been possible only if she had been able to break into 2 stages higher than she already was. Garnet was only at the king stage, while the spell she used was at the tyrant level. And the tyrant level wasn't something that normal people could achieve. Garnet was granted her kitchen with one condition. She had to keep making new dishes that would make her army more and more powerful. No one would bother her after that. Garnet set off to work. This was the dream! She quickly whipped up delicious baked goods that were sweet and took her most precious cooking ingredient, the holy starter. Garnet had made this starter years ago and kept it for the ultimate sourdough. She smiled. This was worth it. She took a part of the sourdough starter and made a giant loaf of bread that could be divided into the entire army. She made cupcakes, breads, puffs, croissants, bun, and even pies. Her variety was endless, and it was not only sweets. It had savory elements, sweet elements, sour elements, and a bitter coffee cake. She made chocolates and sweets that could be eaten for a quick burst of energy. She made hard-boiled sweets that would give power the longer one sucked on them. Garnet's efforts single-handedly won her clan the war. She was finally free to bake her heart away. Or so she thought. Her clan grew ever more blood-hungry. They wanted to attack the next country and slowly take over the world. Garnet had had enough. She demanded that the clan stop this endless war and be happy with what they had, or she'd never bake anything for them ever again. Unfortunately for Garnet, the warriors, beefed up by her food, could easily force her to do what the clan asked. Garnet had to bake more. She took the original sourdough starter she made. It was time to make the ultimate sourdough. Everyone, including the clan elders, would be at this war. No one was left behind except innocent civilians. Garnet made the biggest loaf of sourdough ever, and she made sure every soldier had at least a small piece of it. Her command was that it should be eaten right before the start of the battle. The bread would boost their powers to a whole new level, but the effects would only last an hour. They listened. Everyone ate the piece of bread and started charging into war. Garnet stayed behind with the elders and made sure they ate it too. Before the battle began, though, everyone from Garnet's clan suddenly started exploding on the spot. Not one soul was left behind. Even the elders exploded right next to Garnet, taking her life in the process. Didn't she tell everyone? It was the ultimate sourdough. So, Carison, I bet Garnet can make a mean focaccia. Yeah, Garnet can make a mean focaccia. Focaccia is easy. Okay, Bru makes a good focaccia as well. Everyone, if you guys want Bru cooks, you can get it. I make good food. So I would like to think. But anyway, so you possess the gift of magic, but your spells can only be cast through cooking and have people taste your food. This is a very this is something a little closer to my heart than the other stories, other writing prompts here, because I really like to cook. Cooking is really fun. It's I used to think I was a good cook when I used to make like this really weird potato curry when I was a kid, and then I learned how to make instant noodles, and I thought I was the best chef ever. And then a family friend of mine came and made in what in India we call paneer butter masala, which is like cottage cheese. It's like chicken butter chicken basically, which I think is something most foreigners would recognize. But it was with cottage cheese instead of chicken. And she taught me how to make that, and I made that for years on end. And then I learned more and more and more. And now I really like cooking all kinds of different stuff. I got a noodle machine to make noodles from scratch. I make breads from scratch. I'm not showing off. It's just something that I really like to do. And so the minute I saw this, I was thinking about how it can be something, the story can go in multiple different ways. I even thought of, there's this character in Dota, a game I play a lot, and Corey is going to leave right now because he's tired of me talking about Dota, but still. Oh, wait. He says, this is close to the ability of the mother in Disney's Encanto. She makes arepas that can heal people. I say, oh, I didn't know that. That's really cool. But yeah, even in Dota, there's a hero called Snapfire who makes cookies, and the cookies grant powers to people she throws them on. And I was thinking about going about it in that way as well. But then I thought, hey, what if the cooking actually gave people real powers? Like, a lot of people think that food can heal you and food can make you better than you are, but nature's power and so on and so forth. And of course, when you're talking about the ultimate baked good, I think it has to be a sourdough, because sourdough is considered the holy grail of breads. And I've never made sourdough in my life before, but I know the general process of it. So I was thinking about a baker who really wanted to, it can be any food, right? But then I was thinking about a baker because things like these, bread especially, can last a really long time, so it can be taken into war and so on. And Curry says like magic potions, but good food. Yeah, exactly. That's I would love that to be a real thing. Like, somebody's suffering, somebody gets stabbed right in the stomach with a sword, and you're like, give me the bread, and then you're completely fine afterwards. Yeah, so it's a story about a baker who literally just wants to bake. Like, she just wants to become the best baker that ever existed, but she's part of a clan that really wants to fight everybody and go to new places and destroy everybody and murder and pillage and all that, so on and so forth, like a lot of human history. And she just wants to bake, and she does it, and she's like, you know what, I make magic food, I will help you if you let me keep baking. And she does, but unfortunately after a point you can't keep doing what you want, and these guys force her to keep going on and keep getting new places. And she realizes she's trapped in this whole thing where she just has to keep making food, and her food is the reason why a lot of people die and a lot of people suffer. So she decides to kamikaze her way out of it and make sure that every soldier from her village goes down along with her. Like, you could say that, maybe she didn't want to go down, but she just had to, because she had to be with the army at the time. But yeah, just the ultimate sardo. It gives you so much energy, gives you so much power that your body can't handle it, and you just explode and die. She could have eaten her own food and destroyed the army. Yeah, I was actually thinking of that first, where she eats her food and then it's like a suicide bomb where she just goes and kills everybody. But then I thought everyone really wants her to cook anyway, so they're going to eat whatever she makes. So she could just diffuse this, like, not diffuse, she could just like cut this bomb up into little pieces and make sure each person exploded instead of just one giant explosion. So it's like making sure the entire army died, because everyone is like, oh, I need a bit of that power, and then the power is just too much for them to handle. But yeah, that's it for this story. And I will, oh my god, my throat is dying again. Blue Slate 8 says, it's Bru, glad you're back, bro. Hey, thank you, Blue Slate 8. I'm back. I'm still a little sick, but I'm getting through it. By the next episode, I should be much better, and I should be back in full force. And I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you could join. I hope you like the next story as well. I'm just going to take a quick sip of water again because my throat is suffering. I'll be right back. Sorry, I'm chugging. That's much better. Anyway, so the last story, I've written 4 stories today. So this is the last story, and I originally, for some reason, there's Corey says chug. Yes, I chugged. Yeah, so I wanted to write something a little different, and I mean, this is what I was thinking before I started writing, before I even found the writing prompts. And I wanted to write something a little more sad, not something that is happy, and then there's a twist in the end, and then it becomes sad, or not something that is funny, or not something that is. I just wanted to write something sad, or something that will just make me sit and be like, damn, that's sad. But maybe that's not the best way I could explain, but you get what I mean. And I found the perfect one. Little tweak to the writing prompt as usual. I didn't follow it perfectly. The prompt is, your day has come. You stand before the audience, watching them cheer for you. Only now, the repercussions from the morning are clear. You cannot hear the cheering and the happiness of the people before you. But now, as you start to cry in realization, my day has come. Finally. After years and years of hard work, this is the day I was waiting for. This is what I told myself and wondering how I'd know that I made it. I finally got what I was waiting for. I'd been doing this streaming thing for years now and slowly building up an audience. It started with me doing it when I was living with my parents in the middle of the pandemic. I had a job on the side and earned and saved until I could move out. As time went on, I managed to save enough money to live life while still being able to stream every week. After one of my videos went viral, I knew this story streaming thing was a possibility as a career. After 5 years, I managed to make my first $100 from telling stories. I had a long way to go there. I started working harder and harder. I was either working on my agency's ad campaigns, or I was working on live streaming, writing stories, and doing background work for my own social media. I didn't have the highest hopes. What could a small man from a small city like me even do? I just wanted to be the best I could be. Then things started going up. My hard work paid off decently. I was steadily making money and managed to quit my job around 8 years after I started streaming. It was my time to shine. I managed to live off the money I made streaming and started contracting sponsors. I managed to snag one after 3 years. I finally didn't have to worry about money. The years passed and I had enough money earned to provide for myself and my girlfriend and enough saved to start my own venture. I established my channel as a company and started working even harder. I hired people to write stories with me and handle social media. It was all the things I could stop focusing on and focus only on writing and building the brand. I invited more people to come live stream with me and managed to get more people to voice characters in the stories I wrote. Soon after, others were invited to write along with me, and I managed to hire enough people for writing, streaming, and social media. This itself could be justified as made it. But I had even higher ambitions. After snagging a few more sponsors, I hired video editors and started making videos in the story I wrote instead of just narration. It was phenomenal. The next step was to make it even bigger and reach heights I'd only dreamt of before. I started doing live shows with my core team at my company. We'd go out to stages and stadiums and write stories, read stories, and discuss the whole creative process for various arts. These shows were the goal. I finally managed to make it here. And now, the day in question. Decades after I started a humble writing stream, I have become old, but the burning drive to create content still resides within me, almost like a flame in my chest that was keeping me alive. I say this for a reason. I was born with a ear defect, you see. I would get frequent infections and it would affect my throat and nose as well. ENT specialists around the world told me it was not treatable. I could only get temporary relief, and I could only wait for the day that this disorder would claim my brain and life. Regardless, I pressed on. The crowd cheered and I laughed and narrated my stories. I did this show solo and talked. I talked and talked and talked. I could see if people were laughing and my jokes were landing. Nothing reached my ears. Nothing could. Nothing would ever again. I cry on stage, tears dripping down my eyes as I tell everyone that I'm deeply grateful for the support I've been given over the years, and I hope that they would continue supporting the company and everyone I've trained to take over when I'm gone. I bow. I thank everyone again and walk off stage. The crowd cheered! Or at least I hope they did. I have no way to make sure. I walked straight into the makeshift hospital bed just off the stage and lie down. My entire head was on fire and there was no way I could do anything. This would probably be my last time living the dream. I could feel death approaching. I cared not. I made it. Finally. Thank you. So, I read Corey's comment as I was reading the story, and I was trying not to laugh. So he said hashtag too real, and he said Bru trying to predict his future. So the thing is, this is, as Corey said, it is too real, and it is me trying to predict my future. I just saw this and I thought of, it seemed a lot like something I wanted to do. My end goal has always been something like this, where I can do like live shows, where I can talk to people, where people are there watching me, and whoever else is with me on stage. Of course, I can't do this solo. And I just took a lot of inspiration from my own life here, which is that, I am doing a writing stream. I am not doing it for money right now, but if this is something that would get money, I would be overjoyed. And I'm just trying to make some people have some fun. But I have thought a lot about being a YouTuber or a streamer and stuff like that. And I know it's really, really hard. I know, just because of how hard it is to reach people with just this stream alone. So making $100 after 5 years seems like that seems like too much for me even now. Like 5 years from now, if I made $100, I would be really proud. But yeah, so it's just that, just keep working. I want to make this something where it's not just me reading it out. I can want to make videos with where I'm narrating it. I can have video and audio effects. I can get other people to come in, like, if I'm writing a story with me and another woman, and maybe there's a woman over there, or maybe there's a guy, and we're talking, we're having a conversation, and the other person can also start talking and adding their voice, which makes it more of an immersive experience rather than just me narrating everything. I do try to change my voice a little bit while narrating, but it's still not enough, I feel. I don't think I'm doing a good enough job, so it'd be great if other people could join me. And if I do manage to get money off this, I do want to get people to take care of social media so that I don't have to, because I really do not like social media. But more than that, I want to get people to join me and just create something great. To create some fun stories, create some good entertainment for people, and just have fun. And I don't need to hire video editors because I already know video editing, but I would hire video editors to, take care of the whole thing. I'd get people to come in and help build this into maybe like a storytelling channel which everyone can appreciate. And then it can go on to live shows where it can be, there can be a lot of cool things happening on stage with people. Of course, it's not going to be just me sitting and talking over there. There can be other people who can have like a talk about different stories, about writing, about design, about video editing, everything that goes on in the channel, stuff like that. We could get people from the audience to come in and do some fun stuff. So that was all. I was thinking about where this particular idea could go, and I thought of all these things, and I put them in the story. And even the ear defect is actually something I do have, which is I have this really weird problem with my ears where I get frequent infections. I used to, at least. It used to be really common. And if water entered my ear at all, I would be in pain for like at least 2 weeks and I would be dying inside. And I also know that my aunt, who has a similar thing, had to undergo a very serious operation. And even the sound of a ball hitting a wall on like a completely different side of the building would be able to hurt her ear. So it was really a scary thing to see as a child, because I was the one hitting the ball against the wall, and my mom used to come and shut me up because my aunt would be in agony because of the sounds. So she had to get a very serious operation, and she managed to make it through. She is completely fine now, living her life. But this is something that's going to be with me for life, and it's something that could make me go deaf eventually. And if I can't, shut me up. Yes, exactly. And it could be something that does pose a risk to my life in the future. But I don't know. Medicine has come a long way since I was a kid, so hopefully it's something that can be easily resolved now. But either way, it's just something where I thought if I could handle all that, if I could do what I wanted to do, if I could get company, if I could get people, if I could make people take over when I'm gone and do a really good job with it, and I could safely die and be like, okay, you guys are going to take it forward anyway. And I'd be really proud. I wouldn't mind dying that way, because I know I would have achieved something. And of course, I would like to thank you all for listening and participating. Or you learn sign language, Scotty. Yeah. The thing is, it's not just me going deaf. If an infection occurs, it's the ENT, the ear, nose, throat, and then it like really screws over the entire brain. You have like phlegm all over the head. Apparently, it can get really serious. So, yeah, that's it. That's it for this episode. I would like to thank you all for joining in. And just a little thing that I say at the end of, okay, Corey has written me off. I am dead in his eyes now. But just a little thing that I'd like to say. Sorry. My throat is very bad right now. Just a little thing I'd like to say at the end of every episode is that I'm doing this because I have been sitting on my ass doing nothing for a long, long time. And this is my way of just doing something productive, writing something, keeping in touch with my skills, making sure I can keep writing, I can keep video editing, I can be confident in front of the camera and stuff like that. I just suffer from a couple of mental illnesses, which I'm trying to get over. And because of that, I can't really hold a job. So I'm trying to get a job. But in the meanwhile, I'm just trying to do something, just create, just not waste and rot away. And I would like to thank you all for joining in. Really glad you could be here. Blue State 8, thank you. I'm glad you're here. I am back. I will be regular from now on, and I'm okay. It still hurts, but I can manage. And the usual Twitch guys are not here, and Mickey and Corey are here. Thank you, guys. Mickey says, good effort. And Corey says, yeah, boy. Yeah, thank you guys for joining. I shall be back in 3 days, same time. And in the meanwhile, I'll also be back tomorrow with Corey and another friend of ours for a anime podcast episode. If you want, you can check that out as well, Nandemo Podcast. And if you want to follow me, you can follow me on Reddit or YouTube, Bru Writes, or Twitch, Bru Writes, or Instagram, Bru Writes, or TikTok, Bru Writes, wherever you want. I just haven't done much social media, but YouTube is still kind of active. So yeah, thank you for joining, and I shall see you in 3 days for more stories.